Good morning, one and all. Good morning, students. I hope you all are safe at home. Today, our topic is changes around us. Now, we will start today's session by talking about magic show. You all might have seen magic show and a magician performing on the stage. Yes, now magician, during his performance, he takes a piece of paper and covers that piece of paper with a small cloth and chants abracadabra, and when he takes out the cloth, you observe that the piece of paper turns into a pigeon which flies away. We feel very surprised to see the change and also we enjoy it. Like this, when we observe our surroundings, we can see many changes happening. For example, I have a stick here. This stick, when I apply some force, the stick breaks. Here you can observe the length of the stick is changing. Similarly, I have an apple. Now you can see this apple, the shape of apple. Now when I cut this apple, you can see the shape of the apple changes. And I have two balloons here. One is filled with air and the other one is empty. Yes, now the difference here we observe is the shape of the balloon is different. The shape of the balloon is different. Like this. Now this is summer season. We like to eat fruits. In summer season we are fond of eating mangoes. Now here I have mangoes for you. That is, here I have mangoes. This mango is raw. The color of this mango is green in color. Similarly, when we come to mango fruit, the color of the mango changes from green to yellow. Like this, we observe in our day-to-day life many changes happening. Firstly, what is a change? What is a change? A change is an act or a process through which something becomes different. Change happens naturally in our day-to-day life. For example, there is changing of seasons, blooming of flowers, growing of plants. Like this, we have many changes. You can look at the slide. Now, we have seen changes. Change is a continuous process. You can see around us plants growing. This is a continuous process. It happens day by day. Similarly, flowering also happens day by day. Now, in news, you heard about coronavirus is changing its mRNA structure continuously by mutations, which is making the treatment of the patients very difficult because it is continuously changing its mRNA structure and becoming important to the medicines. Like this, change is a continuous process. Now, when we are observing changes around us, we can see the changes to happen in size. Now, we all grow plants. Yes. Now, when we grow plants, we take seeds. The size of the seed is very small when compared to the plant. So, this is an example for change in size. Similarly, shape. A change in shape, for this good example is moon. Every day we can see that the moon is changing its shape. By this, we can say that there is change in shape happening around us. Next, we will move on to change in appearance. When we come to butterfly, butterfly is very colorful. Now, butterfly is grown from a caterpillar which is green in color. Like this, we can see change in appearance around us, and then we have change in color. Like this, we see many changes around us. By mixing also changes happen. For example, when we add sugar to water, what happens? The sugar gets dissolved in the water. This is also a type of change. And when we heat water every day, during some process we heat water in our house. Now when heating is going on, after some time or after few minutes, you can observe that water starts boiling. Now further, when we are heating the water starts evaporating, that is, it will change from liquid water to gaseous water vapor or steam. Like this, we observe many changes in our day-to-day life. Next slide. Now we have seen many examples about changes. We'll discuss about types of changes. Natural and man-made changes, slow and fast, periodic and non-periodic, desirable and undesirable, reversible and irreversible, physical and chemical changes. We will go in detail for each type of change. For example, natural changes. The changes which occur naturally, as the name suggests, they are natural changes. So when we observe the nature, we can find many changes like growing of plants, changing of seasons, and the color change of the leaves, green to yellow, and falling of leaves, growing of hair, nails. Like this, we have different things happening around us which are natural changes. Man-made changes, on the other hand, are made by man for his convenience. For example, man cuts down trees for his convenience. Like this, in day-to-day life, we observe many man-made changes like construction of buildings, dams, flyovers, sculptures, paintings. Many examples can be given, like simple example is this pot made from the soil is a simple example for man-made change. Like this, man makes different things for his convenience. Next, based on the time taken for the change to happen, we can classify the changes into slow and fast changes. Slow changes are the changes which take long time, that is from few minutes, few hours to years. For example, we eat food. It gets digested in few hours. The digestion of food takes few hours. Digestion of food takes hours. Then coming to rusting of iron, it takes few days. Changing of seasons takes few months. Aging of plant takes few years. Like this, we observe many changes in our day-to-day life which take different time. Similarly, fast changes are the changes which happen in minutes, seconds to minutes. Ice, I think you have seen ice. When you take out ice from the freezer, it starts melting in few seconds. Like that, burning of gas. When you light the burner, it starts burning. Crackers also, as we light, they start burning or exploding. These are the examples of fast changes. Next, we'll move to periodic and non-periodic changes. Periodic changes are the changes which repeat regularly after a specific time interval. For example, phases of moon. The shape of the moon changes and it repeats regularly. Day and night repeat one after the other. Like this, we have different examples. Seasons also repeat one after the other. Non-periodic changes are sudden. They happen suddenly. For example, earthquakes, floods, etc. Now coming to desirable changes and undesirable changes. As the name suggests, where we have desired outcome, that changes are called as desirable changes. For example, seed dispersal and ripening of fruits and many other examples. The man-made changes come under desirable changes. Undesirable changes have an unexpected outcome like rotting of vegetables, floods, cyclones, earthquakes. These are all undesirable changes which we see in our surroundings. Next, we'll move on to reversible and irreversible changes. Reversible changes are the changes which can be reversed back. For this, I have few examples here. Here there is a boat made up of paper. Now, I can get back the paper by simply unfolding I can get back the paper here. Similarly, I have a balloon here. Now, if I release the air slowly and gradually, I can get back the shape of the balloon back. Similarly, I have an example, clay which can be molded into different shapes just by rolling. Like this. Now this is flat. Again, I did not like the shape, so again I will roll it back or squeeze it back to its original shape, that is like this. Now here in all the three examples you have seen, you observe that you are getting back the original substance. So this change where you get back the original substance, it is called as reversible change. You have many examples for this. When we freeze water, we get ice. Again, when we take out ice from the freezer, we get the water back. Like that, melting of chocolate. When you increase the temperature, the chocolate melts. Now again, when you cool it, it becomes solid. Butter, ghee or coconut oil, these are examples for reversible changes. On the other hand, irreversible changes are the changes which cannot be reversed back. Now I have a balloon here. Now this balloon, when the balloon gets bursted, you can't get back the balloon here. Sir, we can get back the balloon here. Similarly, in some cases like breaking of glass, you can't get back the glass again, or baking of chapati. After baking chapati, you can't get back the dough. So in all these cases where you can't get the original substance back are called as irreversible changes. Now like this we have many changes, breaking of glass. These are all examples of irreversible changes. Next we'll move on to physical change and chemical change. Physical change. First we will discuss about what are the physical properties. Now when you look at an object, you can see some properties like size, shape, color, state of the substance. Like any change in this physical properties, we can say that it is a physical change. For example, melting of snow, breaking of pencil, boiling of water, these are all the examples of physical change. Here in the physical change, no new substance is formed, and they are usually reversible. Here we can get back the original substance, so they are called as physical changes. Coming to chemical change, a change in which a chemical substance is new substance is formed is called as chemical change. For example, we cook food. From rice, raw rice, we get the cooked rice. Here the nature of the substance is changing, new substance is formed. So these are called as chemical changes. Some more examples are ripening of fruits. Ripening of fruits, like when the mango raw changes to ripen form, you can see the taste of the mango changes. like this digestion of food. Digestion of food is also an example for chemical change. Like this frying of eggs, different examples are given for chemical change. Here we will observe the change in candle. Now when we are burning the candle, you can observe at the top the wax is melting and the wick is burning. Here we are observing two changes. First one is melting of wax, which is a physical change, and burning of wick is a chemical change. Here the hydrocarbons present in the wax are getting changed into carbon dioxide and water vapor. So candle is a good example where you can explain both physical change and chemical change. Like this digestion of food. During digestion of food, as we all know, the complex components of food like carbohydrates, proteins and fats are broken down into simpler substances. Now curd preparation, curd formation. We prepare curd from milk. When we are preparing curd from milk, the lactose sugar which is present in milk is getting converted into lactic acid. When we taste the substances, we see there is a lot of difference between two of them, by which we are saying that there is a new substance formed. Now in a chemical change, a chemical reaction takes place. Now you can look at the pictures. Here first picture you can see photosynthesis, and the second one curd formation. Third one is rusting of iron, and the fourth one is oxidation of apple. When we cut the apple and leave it aside for few seconds, we observe that surface becomes red in color. Now in all the examples we can see that a new substance is formed, by which we are saying that a chemical change took place here. Now in a chemical change, a chemical reaction takes place, that is transformation of a substance into a new substance which is chemically different by making and breaking of bonds between the atoms is called a chemical reaction. Now a chemical reaction can be evidenced by different signs like color change. If there is a color change, you can say that a reaction happened. If there is some gas evolved, then also you can predict a chemical reaction. Or some foul smell you are smelling. For example, vegetables got rotten and you have not seen, but when you move around them you observe a foul smell, by which we are saying that there is reaction took place. Similarly, heat changes also help us to indicate the chemical change. And solid formation. Suddenly a solid is formed when you are mixing two or more substances, then you can say that a chemical reaction took place. Here I have ENO. I will show you the gas evolution with the help of ENO powder, which we use when we have burning sensation in our stomach. Here when we add ENO to water, we can see bubbles coming out. We can see bubbles coming out. These bubbles indicate that there is gas evolution. By this we can say that a reaction took place here. Is it clear? With the help of the above signs, we can say that a chemical reaction has happened. Now we will move on to next slide. Now chemical equation. We can describe a chemical reaction with the help of chemical equation. For example, formation of water. Water is formed from hydrogen. Hydrogen, when it reacts with water, it gives hydrogen. When it reacts with oxygen, it gives water. Now this can be represented in a short form using the names of the chemicals involved, like hydrogen plus oxygen gives water. This form of writing equation is called as word equation, and hydrogen and oxygen are called as a reactants. Water is a product, and arrow specifies the direction of reaction. Here in this reaction, hydrogen and oxygen are combining, so they are called as reactants, and they form a new substance, that is water, which is called as the product. Now here arrow gives us the direction of the reaction, so we can write the chemical reaction in short with the help of the names of the reactants and products. Now we can make it more precise and useful by using the symbols and chemical formulae of the reactants and products. Now we know the symbol of hydrogen, it is H. Now atomicity of hydrogen is 2, so we write the molecular formula of hydrogen as H2. Then oxygen exists as diatomic molecule in nature, so we can write it as O2. We can write the chemical formula of water with the help of valencies, which we have learnt in the previous class, that is atoms and molecules. Valency of hydrogen is 1, valency of oxygen is 2, and when we cross these valencies we get the formula as H2O. Now this form of writing the equation is called as skeletal equation or unbalanced equation. Now during a chemical reaction we have to have the mass balance. So based on the law of conservation of mass given by Lavoisier, which states that mass is neither created nor destroyed, that is the total mass of the reactant should be equal to the total mass of the products. Total mass of the reactant should be equal to the total mass of the products. There is no mass destruction during the reaction. So to have the mass balance, we just check that the number of atoms of each element are equal on both sides of the equation. For example, here in this equation we can now we'll learn how to balance the equation. For this, first we have to write the elements present in the reaction. The elements present in the reaction are hydrogen and oxygen. Number of atoms on LHS and number of atoms on RHS. Now hydrogen, the number of atoms of hydrogen on the LHS are 2 and that on the RHS are 2. Coming to oxygen, the number of atoms of oxygen are 2 on the LHS and here on the RHS it is 1. Now we have to here if you observe, to balance we have to go from element to element. Here hydrogen, if you see, the number of atoms are 2 on both sides, so it is balanced. Now coming to oxygen, here the number of atoms of oxygen are 2 on LHS and on RHS it is 1. So here we need to balance oxygen. We can balance the oxygen simply by multiplying the coefficient with 2. Yes, here if you observe, when we are multiplying the coefficient with 2, the number of atoms of hydrogen is 4, 2 into 2, 4, and that of oxygen are 2. Now if you see here, the number of atoms of hydrogen are increased to 4. So to balance this, again we need to balance the number of atoms on the left hand side. Here again we can do it simply by multiplying it with 2. Now if you see, 2 into 2 we are having 4 hydrogen atoms. Like this, if you see in the equation of the number of atoms of hydrogen are 4 and 4 and that of oxygen are 2 and 2. Now this reaction is balanced. Did you understand? Now I will give you one more example, that is burning of magnesium ribbon. Magnesium burns in the presence of oxygen to give magnesium oxide. Magnesium oxide. So this form of writing equation is called word equation. Already we discussed na this where we write the names of the reactants and products. That form of writing equation is called as word equation. Now we can represent the symbols and formula for the reactants and products. Magnesium, the symbol of magnesium is Mg and its atomicity is 1. So simply we write it as Mg, and we know the formula of oxygen, it is O2. Again we can write the chemical formula of magnesium oxide with the help of valencies, that is Mg2 and O2. See, valency of Mg is 2 and valency of oxygen is 2. When we cross this, we get it as Mg2 and O2. To say again, when we simplify, we get the formula as MgO. Here now again we have to have the mass balance here. So we start with writing the elements present in the reaction. The elements present in the reaction are magnesium and oxygen. Number of atoms on LHS. Number of atoms on RHS. Now here the number of atoms of magnesium is 1 on LHS and on RHS also it is 1. Coming to oxygen, the number of atoms of oxygen are 2 on LHS and 1 on RHS. Again to balance we will go by element to element. Here magnesium, the number of atoms are equal, so it is balanced, and oxygen, if you observe, it is 2 on LHS and 1 on RHS. So we need to balance this. Again we multiply on the coefficient with 2. Now if you observe here, the number of atoms of magnesium has changed to 2, so we write it 2, and that of oxygen is changed to 2. Now if you see, now oxygen is balanced but magnesium is not balanced, so we have to balance magnesium simply by multiplying with 2. Like this we have balanced the equation. Now the number of atoms of each element are equal on both sides, so the reaction is balanced. Like this we have to balance chemical equations and in the reactions. Next, making the chemical reactions more informative. We can make the chemical equations more informative by mentioning the physical states of the substances. Now in the reaction we have reactants and products. We mention the physical states of the reactants and products. If the reactant is a solid, we represent it with small s in brackets. A liquid can be represented with the help of L, small l in brackets. A gas can be represented with small g in brackets, and a solution in water can be represented with the help of AQ in brackets. For example, iron oxide plus aluminium gives us, on heating, gives us iron plus aluminium oxide. Here all the reactants are solids, so we represent with small s at the right side bottom. Here triangle represents heat. We are heating the reaction and we represent that with the help of a small triangle. Like this we mention the heat changes which are observed during a reaction. In a reaction, if heat is released, you can say that it is a exothermic reaction. A reaction in which heat is released, it is a exothermic reaction. For example, coal or carbon burns in the presence of oxygen to give carbon dioxide. Plus Q. Here Q represents the amount of heat energy released during the reaction. Similarly, if heat is absorbed during a reaction, then it is called as endothermic reaction. Now for this example is nitrogen reacts with oxygen to give nitric oxide, and minus Q, here this Q is the amount of heat energy utilized for the reaction to happen. Plus Q represents exothermic reaction and minus Q represents endothermic reaction. Next, we represent the gas evolved during a reaction with the help of an upward arrow. A gas evolved during a reaction can be represented with the help of an upward arrow or G in brackets. For example, zinc plus sulfuric acid gives zinc sulfate plus hydrogen, which is a gas. We represent it with an up arrow and G in brackets. Here zinc sulfate is soluble in water, so it is aqueous, and sulfuric acid, all acids are solution in water, so we represent them as aqueous, and zinc is solid. So here we are making the reaction more informative. Next, a solid formed during a reaction can be represented with the help of downward arrow and a solid in S in brackets. Solid formed during a reaction can be represented with the help of downward arrow or S in brackets. For example, lead nitrate on reaction with potassium iodide gives lead iodide and potassium nitrate. Here the lead iodide is insoluble in water, so it separates out as solid. All the other are soluble in water, so we write it as aqueous. Now we have some substances used in reactions which help to speed up the reactions. These substances are called as catalysts. Catalysts are the substances which help in altering the speed of the reaction by changing the path of the reaction. For this, good example is enzymes involved in the reaction, digestion process. Enzymes, different enzymes are involved in the digestion process. They are examples of catalyst. The catalyst does not initiate the reaction and is not consumed in the reaction. It can be recovered chemically and unchanged at the end of the reaction. For example, German chemist Fritz Haber has synthesized ammonia using iron as catalyst. He could combine nitrogen gas and hydrogen gas under pressure using iron as catalyst. This reaction is used in the preparation of ammonia for fertilizers. For example for catalyst is nitrogen plus hydrogen react to give ammonia. Here iron is a catalyst. So a catalyst is a substance which speeds up the reaction. Like this, we'll move on to the next slide. I have a small worksheet for you all. I would request you all to try to balance these equations and also make the equations informative. Please students, note down the equations. We'll move on to types of chemical reactions. Coming to types of reactions, first one is synthesis reaction. Here, when two or more substances react together or combine together to form a single substance, that is called as combination reaction. That is, A plus B gives you single product, that is AB. Here, combination reaction is characterized by a single product formation. combination reaction is characterized by single product formation. Next type of reaction is decomposition reaction. Here a single substance breaks down to form two or more simpler products. This is a decomposition reaction. Here the decomposition reaction is characterized by single reactant. Coming to the next type of reaction, that is displacement reaction. A plus BC gives, here the reaction, one element displaces the another element from its compound to give a salt, that is AC plus B. Such reactions are called as displacement reactions, single displacement reactions. Next type of reaction is double displacement reaction, where the reactants mutually exchange their chemical constituents. For example, AB plus CD gives AD plus CB. This reaction is called as double displacement. Here exchange of constituents takes place. So these are the four different types of reactions which happen in our day-to-day life. So we'll move on to discuss the reactions in detail. Firstly, combination reaction. A reaction in which two or more substances combine together to form single product is called as combination reaction. You have number of examples for this. For example, when we take calcium oxide in a beaker and add water to it and observe, we can see that the beaker becomes hot, indicating a chemical reaction. Now in this reaction, what the product formed is calcium oxide on reaction with water gives us calcium hydroxide. And heat is released during this reaction. Here the common name of calcium oxide is quicklime, which reacts with water to give slaked lime solution. This solution is commonly used as whitewash. For whitewash of walls, we use this solution in this reaction. Now next, another example is carbon or coal burns in the presence of oxygen to give carbon dioxide, and also along with carbon dioxide we can observe a large amount of heat and light is liberated. And one more example, magnesium reacts with oxygen to give magnesium oxide, and here also you can observe heat is released. Next reaction is ammonia reacts with hydrochloric acid to give ammonium chloride. Now in all these reactions, if you observe, there is only one product formed. So such reactions in which only one product is formed, we can simply say that it is a combination reaction. Usually these reactions are exothermic, that is energy or heat energy is released during the reaction. Next we will move on to the next type of reaction, that is decomposition reaction. Decomposition reaction, a reaction in which substance breaks down into two or more simpler substances is called as decomposition reaction. Now if this decomposition reaction is happening in the presence of on heating, then it is called as thermal decomposition reaction. So on heating, if the decomposition is happening, then it is called as thermal decomposition reaction, that is calcium carbonate. When we take some calcium carbonate in a test tube and heat it, you observe that it breaks down into calcium oxide and carbon dioxide. Now here we are heating the reaction, so we represent it by triangle symbol, and carbon dioxide is a gas, so we represent with the upward arrow. Like this reaction is happening by heating, so it is called as thermal decomposition reaction. Next, electrolytic decomposition reaction. Now when we pass electricity through water, you observe that water decomposes into hydrogen and oxygen. For example, water decomposes to give you H2 and O2. Here water is liquid and these two are gases. Okay. Now here hydrogen is formed at cathode and oxygen is formed at anode. Like this, when we pass electricity, a decomposition reaction happens, which are called as electrolytic decomposition reactions. And the decomposition reaction which happens in the presence of sunlight is called as photochemical decomposition reaction or photolytic decomposition reaction. For example, when we take silver chloride and put it in sunlight, the silver chloride, which is yellow in color, after half an hour or like that, we observe that the color changes to black or grey and chlorine gas is liberated here. Now these reactions which happen in the presence of sunlight are called as photochemical decomposition reactions. Here you observe in all these reactions, a single reactant is decomposing to give two or more products. Is it clear? So this is about decomposition reactions. Next we will move on to displacement reactions. Displacement reactions, single displacement reactions are the reactions in which a single element is displaced. A more reactive element displaces a less reactive element from its compound. For example, zinc plus HCl gives us zinc chloride plus H2. Here you can see that zinc is replacing hydrogen from hydrochloric acid. Such reactions are called as single displacement reactions. Now this is also called as cationic displacement. Here you observe that a cation is being replaced. One more example is potassium iodide on reaction with chlorine gas gives potassium chloride plus iodine gas. Here in this case you can see that there is replacement of anion, so they are called as anionic displacement reactions. One more simple example is when we take copper sulphate solution. In the slide you can see the picture. Copper sulphate solution which is blue in color, when we dip an iron nail in that, after 20 minutes you can observe that the blue color of the copper sulphate is fading and you can see a solid reddish brown solid is being deposited at the bottom of the test tube. For example, iron plus copper sulphate gives us iron sulphate plus copper. Here the copper is solid which get deposited at the bottom. Like this, here iron is able to replace copper because iron is more reactive than copper. The reverse reaction is not possible because iron is more reactive. In this case you find that the reaction will not happen. Next we will move on to the next reaction, that is double displacement reaction. Here there is only mutual exchange of the constituents between the reactants. Double displacement reactions, the reactions in which there is mutual exchange of the ions between the reactants is called as double displacement reaction. For example, barium chloride solution. When barium chloride solution is added to sodium sulfate solution, you observe that a white solid of barium sulfate is formed here, forming NaCl is in the solution. Here you can see that there is exchange of ions happening. One more example, lead nitrate plus potassium iodide gives us lead iodide plus potassium nitrate. Here the lead nitrate formed is a yellow color solid and it gets deposited at the bottom of the beaker. So the reactions in which solid is formed are called as precipitation reactions. The reactions in which solid is formed are called as precipitation reactions. They are also called as precipitation reactions. Next we will move on to redox reactions. Redox reactions are the reactions in which there is a transfer of electrons between the participating reactants. Here there is transfer of electrons from one reactant to the other reactant, and also reduction and oxidation are occurring in the same reaction, so they are called as redox reaction. Now oxidation can be defined as addition of oxygen or removal of hydrogen or loss of electrons. While reduction can be defined as addition of hydrogen, removal of oxygen or gain of electrons. So these two reactions happen in a same reaction, so the reactions are named as redox reaction. For example, when hydrogen is passed over preheated copper oxide, you can observe that the copper oxide is reduced to copper, and here the hydrogen is oxidized to water. Here you can see that copper oxide is undergoing reduction and hydrogen is undergoing oxidation. These two reactions are happening in the same reaction, so redox reaction, and copper oxide is helping the hydrogen to get oxidized, so it is called as oxidizing agent, and hydrogen is helping copper oxide to get reduced, so it is called as reducing agent. Now some more oxidation reactions which happen in our daily life, that is combustion reaction. I think you all know what is combustion. Combustion is burning of any substance in or reaction of any substance with oxygen to give corresponding oxide, and also at the same time it releases large amount of heat and light. Now substances which burn rapidly to give heat and light are called as combustible materials. Petrol, LPG and all fuels are examples for combustible materials. This combustion reaction is very useful in our day-to-day life. Lastly, we will go with some a small effect of oxidation in our day-to-day life, that is corrosion. Corrosion can be defined as when some metals are exposed to air, moisture or acids present in the atmosphere, they get tarnished. They are getting tarnished or they are getting rusted because they are forming their corresponding oxides on the surface. You can see in the first picture that the iron machinery, which is made up of iron, is changing its color to reddish brown, that is rusting of iron. It can be prevented by alloying, galvanization and electroplating. Alloying is fusing of two or more metals. Galvanization is coating the iron metal with a layer of zinc. Electroplating is plating one metal over the other. This happens with the help of a technique called electrolysis. Now students, I think you understood the concept of changes around us. Now, to improve your learning, I would like to give you a small assignment that look at the slide. Please note it down. The first one is collect information on chemistry in kitchen, that is the reactions that happen in our day-to-day life. Now, the second one is collect some information about food, natural food preservatives, and prepare a detailed report on it. Thank you, children. I think you have understood the topic and we are waiting for you at the schools. Thank you.